Yo! Hey, so if you've been asking yourself, what am I feeling? Why am I feeling so much right now? You, my friend, are not alone. 5 planets right now are retrograde. And with all of this happening at once, there's an emotional volume that is on the rise. This isn't to overwhelm, this isn't to make you feel any certain way, but it's to ask and show what has been hiding beneath the surface, what's real. And with retrograde, things can feel slow. Things can kind of feel like we've gone back in time. But it's not necessarily for any reason other than to offer a spotlight. This is a cosmic pause, something to bring forward clarity and truth. And there's a depth underneath this energy. Maybe that depth has been avoided through busyness, or maybe self-protection, or maybe it's just really overwhelming to meet yourself. That's also a thing. Emotions can be a lot, especially when we haven't been taught or shown how to work through those emotions. So moments like this can be overwhelming. And then to top it all off, we have these 5 planets in retrograde, and Scorpio is actually leading the charge on this one. We're in this retrograde corridor, I would call it. And basically everything you've been feeling, there's a purpose behind it, because Scorpio, it rules truth telling. It rules depth and what's under the surface. Scorpio sees through things. So it's asking us to face our shadow and integrate those parts of ourselves that we've pushed away, that we've neglected, that we've overlooked. And look at ourselves with honesty. How many times do we lie to ourselves saying it's not that bad, when in reality it's something we know is bad for us? Take that however. And it takes courage to say, you know what I'm doing doesn't serve me. Why do I do these things? What makes me reach for that coping mechanism? Take it as you need it. You know what you do. But it's not a punishment. It's because when we know these things are bad for us, it gives us an opportunity to look inwards and say, okay, what's real here and what can I do to shift my life to be better? The patterns, the beliefs, the coping mechanisms that we know are bad and that maybe we're doing more and more are coming to the surface so that we can become aware of them, and giving us an opportunity to say, I'm going to push harder against that and resist it even more, or to finally say, I'm ready to change. I see it, right? And I know why I'm doing it, and it doesn't serve me anymore, because that was a part of me that lived in fear. That was a part of me that lived in abandonment wounds, self-deprecation, talking lowly of self, right? Or some other version that is not you today. Because take a look 6 months ago, where were you? And does anything that's happening now kind of resemble that? But are you seeing it from a higher level this time? Maybe it was a relationship that you were deeply involved in and highly committed to. And now you're seeing it with a higher level of perceptiveness of, why did I allow that? What part of me was okay with receiving that type of treatment? What part of me was desperate for that type of energy? And was it reinforcing anything from my past? Childhood dynamics, old relationship dynamics. Is it a pattern that has been going on for more than a week? Maybe it's been going on for years. And this portal is giving us an opportunity to really see these deep levels of ourselves, to say, I know I want different, and I'm willing to take that step to make it happen, even if I have no idea what is going to become of it. I know I want to change. I know I want to grow. And if you're feeling that, you're in the perfect spot. Because what I want to do now is go through each of the energies. So if you don't know what a retrograde is a time from here on Earth, we're noticing the planets that go in one direction and then they kind of loop backwards and then they go back in the same direction. It looks like they're moving backwards from our perception. and that can make the energy feel like we're going back in time. So just know that if you are feeling backwards right now, it's normal, totally normal. So right now, we're inside of a rare retrograde corridor. Jupiter, Saturn, Uranus, Neptune, and Mercury are all moving in a reverse direction. The chaos isn't punishment. This is divinely guided precision at a cosmic level. Retrogrades don't pull you backward. They draw you inward with purpose, like a bowstring gathering strength before release. The outer world begins to quiet. Awareness begins to sharpen. And tension becomes refinement. This is the universe aligning your direction through reflection, preparing you for the momentum that comes only after deep, intentional pullback. So let's walk through these energies one by one. Mercury retrograde in Scorpio. Mercury rules communication, thought, technology, and perception. And when Mercury goes retrograde, it pulls us inward to rethink and to revisit and to reveal what was hidden. With it being in Scorpio, this retrograde sharpens the intuition and exposes emotional truth. Conversations return not to confuse you, but to give a different layer of clarity to what was beneath the surface all along. And Mercury is asking, what truth am I now ready to see within myself? We have Jupiter retrograde in Cancer. Jupiter rules expansion, optimism, learning, and growth. Retrograde turns that expansion inwards, guiding us to growth through emotional wisdom. And in Cancer, Jupiter is inviting reflection on what it feels like to be safe, to belong, and to grow those emotional roots. So old patterns around love and nurturing and self-protection will rise for that deeper level of review. And Jupiter is asking us, what emotional belief is ready to evolve, is ready to expand? We have Saturn, 25 degrees in Pisces, retrograde. Saturn rules structure, discipline, boundaries, and responsibility. And retrograde dissolves rigid patterns and rebuilds from a deeper emotional truth. With it in Pisces, Saturn softens you into a spiritual maturity. It's blending intuition with responsibility and compassion with boundaries. And so Saturn asks, what boundary would support my emotional and spiritual well-being right now? We have Uranus in Taurus. And Uranus rules awakening, liberation, and breakthroughs. Retrograde internalizes revolution, and change brews beneath the surface. And with it at 29 degrees in Taurus, this is the final degree. This is karmic. Liberation from outdated stability, comfort, or identity structures. And so Uranus is asking, what inner breakthrough is waiting for me to finally release the old? Because as we all know, Taurus is a very stubborn sign. It's identified with the bull. So it likes rigidity, it likes structure, it doesn't really change. So this is really a great time to look at what parts of myself am I resisting change in. In addition, we have Neptune in retrograde within Pisces. And Neptune rules dreams, intuition, and illusion, as well as spiritual connections. And retrograde is dissolving fantasy, so truth can rise. It dissolves the dream. And with it in Pisces at 29 degrees, the final degree of that zodiac, this is a collective spiritual clearing. Illusions are beginning to fall away. Clarity is sharpening, and the soul is taking the lead here. And so Neptune is asking, what truth am I now strong enough to see without illusion? And then we have Pluto. Pluto is not in retrograde, but Pluto is direct for the first time in Aquarius at 1 degree in many, many, many years. And Pluto is the planet that rules transformation, power, identity, evolution, and collective change. Direct motion activates forward movement after deep internal restructuring. And with Pluto in Aquarius, the sign of innovation, humanity, inner truth, and collective well-being, Pluto is pushing us towards a more heart-centered identity and future-focused evolution. Pluto is asking us what part of my identity is ready to evolve towards a collective, personal truth. And then we have you, sitting in the middle of all of this. This is not a moment to push. This is not a moment to force. This is a moment to reassess, to realign, to reconsider, to release, to rewrite, to restore. The world paused because you needed pause. Because the universe was drawing you back, aligning your trajectory. And the universe has been asking you, how deep will you allow yourself to be pulled inward? Knowing that the further and clearer your forward momentum will be, the deeper you decide to go. Every delay has been divine. Every slowdown is intentional. And every single reappearing emotion is a messenger. The universe is not saying wait. It is saying aim. It is saying you're not supposed to move forward with the old self. Just like an arrow cannot fly with its old direction. The pullback determines the trajectory. The depth you lean into now becomes the force that propels you forward later. So I invite you to say aloud or within your head, I surrender to this pause. I trust the timing. And I honor what is rising within me. Till next time. Peace.